All right, I started drawing without you, just to show you we've got our Ascon type sponge. Where we've got one osculum and the ostia are made up of single cells called porocytes, and the spongiceal is lined with choanocytes. Okay, so henceforth when I draw choanocytes, I'm just going to draw kind of like a circle with a little triangle with a little flagellum line, squiggly line coming out of that. Okay, so when you see that, you should interpret that as choanocytes. Okay, so moving on to the second type of body plan. Oops, let's try again. Syconoid body plan. Having a hard time here. Body plan. Okay, it's gonna look, we're gonna draw basically the outside looking very much similar. Kind of a vase shape, but before we draw the inside, exactly like that, we're going to make it a little bit different. Okay. So it kind of looks like I'm drawing it like it's a flower on the inside, but that's not what's going on. So what's going on is, imagine that we took one of these Asconoid type sponges and we just kind of stacked it on a whole bunch of other Ascon type sponges. So like each one of these little chambers is lined with choanocytes, but the spongiceal itself is not lined with choanocytes. Okay, so now each of these units is now called a flagellated chamber. We still have a single spongiceal. With this place for water exit called the osculum. And now we still have ostia. To provide water entry into those flagellated chambers, but they're not made up of single porocytes anymore. So now the ostia are multicellular. Okay? So that's the difference between our Asconoid body plan and our syconoid body plan. Imagine that we took a whole bunch of our Ascon sponges and stacked them on top of each other to share a common spongiceal, but still we only have one osculum. Okay? That's your syconoid type sponge. Our third type are the leuconoid sponges. The leuconoid sponges are the most complex. And how do I, okay, I'm gonna draw it kind of like, remember, if you will, that these are cross sections. So these are really, this is a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional thing. So this is not a U shape, it's a vase shape. And this is a vase shape with a bunch of vases lining the larger vase. Okay, so in our leuconoid type body plan, one thing you'll notice right off the bat is that now we finally have multiple, when we have more than one osculum, we've got multiple oscula. Multiple oscula for water exit. And each of these things here, we've got multiple, these circles here, and I'm doing a really not great job of drawing these in here, and I'm sorry. When you can't draw something very well, label it. So we're filled with flagellated chambers. And the flagellated chambers are connected to each other by a series of canals. So water flows in through in-current canals, and the in-current canals ultimately feed into the spongiocele through what are known as X-current canals. Okay, so our leuconoid body plan, main differences is we've got our multiple oscula and we've got this series of canals that are connecting the flagellated chambers to each other, to the outside, to the spongiocele. And there's just too many of these things to accurately draw just like what's going on here. Remember, these organisms are essentially made up of holes. They're almost as much hole as they are stuff. So this would be our leuconoid type body plan. So when I try to remember what's the order of complexity from simplest to the most complex, I think of American Sign Language, ASL, Asconoid, syconoid, leuconoid. And it's not a switch, it's more of a dial. So sometimes it might be hard to tell the difference between an asconoid and a syconoid sponge, or a syconoid and a leuconoid sponge. It's not as cut and dried as, oh, are there multiple oscula? Well, it's definitely leuconoid, but you might have a leuconoid sponge that's got a single osculum. There's kind of there's a gradient of change from asconoid to syconoid to leuconoid. Okay, and just as a bonus refresher here, remember we've got 3 classes within Porifera that you're responsible for knowing a little thing about. We've got the calcarea, which have calcareous spicules. We've got hexactinellida, which have siliceous spicules that are typically have 6 points to the spicules, hence hexactinellida, hex means 6. And then our largest class of sponges is Demospongii. Okay? So that is our phylum Porifera with 3 classes. Okay, so that's the majority of what you need to know about sponges.